The explosion in Sector 9. The sky above Sector 9 was dark with smoke. Explosions shook the dusty ground every few minutes. Human forces were holding the Western Line, while the alien army, the Zalari Dominion, defended the ridge. Both sides were tired. Both sides had lost too much. Sorexa was one of the youngest soldiers in the Zalari squad. Tall and lean with blue skin and sharp silver eyes, she moved carefully through the battlefield ruins. Her squad had been sent to retrieve data from a crashed ship nearby. They didn't know that humans had left traps behind. She stepped forward. Click. Her eyes widened. She looked down. A strange round object was half buried in the dirt. Before she could scream, the mine exploded. The blast threw her into the air. Her body hit the ground hard, dust flying everywhere. She didn't feel pain at first, just ringing in her ears and heat on her skin. Then she looked down. Her leg was gone. Below the knee, nothing remained but blood, metal, and torn flesh. She screamed. Her squad heard it, but they didn't come. One peeked from behind a rock, saw the human minefield, and ducked back. Another whispered, "We can't help her. That field might have more traps." "She's finished," said another. "Let the humans take her." Sorexa lay in the dirt, trembling. Her vision was blurry. Her people had left her to die. She had always believed that humans were monsters, but now she began to understand something painful. Her own kind could be monsters too. Across the field, a human soldier named Corporal Jackson was watching through binoculars. He saw the explosion. He saw the alien girl fall, and he saw no one move to help her. He cursed under his breath, grabbed his medkit, and stood up. "Corporal, where are you going?" his commander shouted. "She's enemy." "She's dying," Jackson said, already walking toward the field. "Don't be stupid. That's a kill zone." Jackson didn't stop. He moved slowly, carefully. He knew the minefield might still be active, but he also knew one thing. If that girl wasn't helped in the next few minutes, she would bleed out. Every step felt like a risk, but the scream from the alien girl still echoed in his ears. Sorexa blinked through tears. Her vision was failing. Then, through the dust, she saw someone coming. A human. Her heart jumped in fear. Was he coming to finish her? Was this the end? She tried to lift her weapon, but her hand was too weak. Blood loss had already taken away her strength. Jackson reached her and dropped to his knees. "Easy," he said gently. "I'm here to help." Sorexa growled weakly. "Don't touch me, human. You'll die if I don't. I'd rather die than be touched by your filthy—" She coughed hard. Blood came out of her mouth. Jackson didn't argue. He pulled out gauze and a spray that stopped bleeding. He worked fast, tying off her thigh with a pressure band. Her blood was purple and thick, but the medical tools reacted correctly. The synthetic bandage adjusted to her alien skin. Sorexa winced. Her pain was blinding, but part of her brain was confused. Why was he helping her? Why wasn't he killing her? Behind rocks and bunkers, soldiers on both sides watched in silence. No one fired. No one moved. Even the machine stopped buzzing. For the first time in the long, ugly war, something was different. Jackson checked her vitals. "You need a new leg. I have a synthetic one. It might fit." You carry spare legs?" she muttered. "Sometimes. We lose our own too," he said with a soft smile. She almost laughed. Then everything went black. When Sorexa woke up, she was in a cave, cool, quiet, and hidden. Her leg was still gone, but the bleeding had stopped. She looked beside her. There was the human, sitting silently, guarding her. She whispered, "Why?" Jackson didn't look at her. He stared at the mouth of the cave, alert. "Because no one else did," he said. Her eyes were full of hate. Until he pulled out the toolkit, Sorexa opened her eyes slowly. Her vision was still cloudy, but the pain was sharper now, real, constant, and cruel. She was alive. She hated that. The air smelled different, dry, earthy. She was lying on a thin mat inside a rocky cave. A faint fire flickered nearby. The shadows danced across the walls, but her eyes locked on one shape, the human. He sat with his back to her, cleaning his tools. She growled weakly. "Why am I still breathing?" Jackson turned, surprised she was awake. "Because I didn't let you die." She clenched her jaw. "You should have." "Maybe," he said calmly. "But I don't kill the wounded." "You're human," she spat. "Aren't you supposed to enjoy that?" Jackson raised an eyebrow, then chuckled softly. "I'm not the kind you heard stories about." Her silver eyes burned with hate. "You're our enemy." "Right now your enemy is blood loss," he replied, holding up a scanner. "Your vitals are dropping. I gave you fluid, but you're still weak." She turned her head, refusing to look at him. Her leg stump throbbed. "How bad?" she asked quietly. "Too bad to fix," he answered honestly. "It's gone." The muscle was shredded, bone crushed. Infection already started. He leaned closer. "If I hadn't moved when I did, you'd have died right there." Sorexa blinked hard. "Why did you?" Jackson didn't speak for a few seconds. Then he looked into her eyes and said, "Because no one else did." She didn't know what to say. For a long time there was silence, only the crackling of the small fire between them. Finally, Jackson stood up and walked to his pack. He pulled out a black box, heavy metal with silver latches. He placed it beside her. Sorexa narrowed her eyes. "Is that a weapon?" He shook his head. "It's a toolkit for surgery." He opened it. Inside were strange instruments, glowing gels, and a shiny metal limb, smooth, jointed, and alien-looking even to her. "What is that?" "A synthetic leg," he said. "Model, Field Class Viper, used for soldiers who lose limbs in combat." She blinked. "Human design?" "Yes." "Why are you showing this to me?" "Because I'm going to attach it to you." Sorexa laughed, or tried to. It came out like a dry cough. "You think I'd walk with human parts?" "You want to crawl forever?" he asked bluntly. "Or die when infection spreads?" She didn't answer. Her pride screamed no, but her body was screaming something else. Survive. "I can adjust it," Jackson added. "Shape, sensitivity, response. I can tune it to match your nervous system. It won't feel like the leg you lost, but it'll feel like yours." She looked away. "Do you think saving me makes us friends?" "No." "Then why bother?" Jackson gently set the leg beside her. "Because if someone had saved my sister when she was wounded, maybe she'd still be alive." His voice cracked slightly. "But no one helped her. Enemy or not." Sorexa went quiet. For the first time, her hate was silent. She stared at the artificial leg. It was sleek, advanced, beautiful, in a strange way. It gleamed under the firelight like a promise of a future she never thought she'd have again. Jackson knelt beside her. "I'll need to connect it to your thigh. There'll be pain, but I'll use a blocker first." "I don't trust you," she whispered. "You don't have to," he replied, already pulling out an injector. "But you will walk again." Aim closed her eyes, bracing herself. "If you try anything, I'll kill you." Jackson smiled faintly. "I'd expect nothing less." Then the operation began. The moment that shocked both armies. Dawn broke over Sector 9 with an uneasy calm. High above the battlefield, a surveillance drone hovered in silence. It zoomed in on a small cave at the base of the burnt ridge. Its lens focused, not on weapons, not on strategy, but on something strange. Inside that cave, a human medic was kneeling beside a wounded alien girl. Corporal Jackson's hands were steady. His brow was damp with sweat, but his mind stayed focused. The synthetic leg had been successfully attached. Now he had to link it to her nervous system. Sorexa lay still, teeth clenched, trying not to scream. The pain from the neural connectors was sharp, like fire running up her spine. But she refused to cry out, not in front of a human. She had fought her entire life to be strong, to earn her place in a military that barely respected her. But now, with her own people gone and this human saving her life, she didn't know what to believe anymore. Jackson adjusted a dial. "All right," he said softly. "I'm going to activate the limb." "What if it explodes?" she muttered. He smirked. "Then we both die. Fair deal?" She couldn't help but chuckle. Just a little. He pressed the final switch. The synthetic leg twitched. A shiver ran through her. Her muscles pulled. Her body reacted. For the first time since the explosion, Sorexa felt something below her knee. Again. Even if it wasn't real. Her foot moved. It was artificial, but it moved. She gasped. Jackson backed away, letting her test it herself. "Try flexing the knee." She did. It obeyed. She sat up slightly, looking down at it. The silver-blue metal reflected the firelight. It didn't match her body. It didn't even feel alien. It felt foreign. But it worked. I can feel it," she whispered. "Not bad for a first try," Jackson replied. "You'll walk by noon." Outside in the distance, the Zalari soldiers had gathered again near the wreckage. One soldier zoomed in with a scope and froze. "Commander," he said slowly, "I think you need to see this." A hologram was sent directly to the alien command center. What it showed stunned them all. The footage was soon picked up by human. Drones, too. On both sides, command officers and troops gathered around glowing screens, watching a human soldier helping an enemy alien girl walk again. The response was immediate. Some were furious. "This is treason," one Zalari captain shouted. Others were confused. Why would a human help a Zalari soldier? A few whispered something that had not been said since the war began. "He's showing mercy." Back at the cave, Sorexa took a shaky step forward. She leaned against the wall, adjusting to the new weight. Jackson was close by in case she fell, but she didn't. Her steps were awkward, but strong. "You'll be running again in a week," he said with pride. She looked at him, confused. "Why do you care?" Jackson's voice dropped. "Because this war's already taken too many people. I won't let it take you too." Suddenly, a sound outside. Sorexa turned sharply. "Drones!" Jackson looked up. The buzzing was louder now. Then he spotted it. 3 small Zalari recon drones hovering above the cave. They were watching. Recording. "Are we being broadcast?" Sorexa asked, heart racing. "Likely," Jackson said. "To both sides." She stepped into the light. And the cameras caught the moment. An alien girl standing tall on a human-built leg beside the very soldier who gave it to her. In that instant, something broke, and something new began. A single message was sent across the encrypted network. Human. Aided Zalari. No aggression. No betrayal. Just healing. Some ignored it. Some deleted it. But others saved it. And in hidden corners of both fleets, soldiers began to ask questions. Dangerous ones. Rejection from her own kind. Sorexa limped into the outer edge of her command post, head held high despite the pain. Her new synthetic leg clicked softly with each step, out of sync with her natural stride. Behind her, the sounds of the human cave faded away. She had insisted on returning. She thought her people would welcome her back. She was wrong. Guards spotted her first. Their jaws dropped in shock. "Is that Sorexa? It can't be. Look at her leg." Whispers turned into murmurs. Murmurs became harsh voices. "She's infected." She returned with human tech. She let the enemy touch her. The camp gates opened, not to welcome her, but to surround her. A circle of armored soldiers and commanders formed. Their faces were cold, their expressions unreadable. Sorexa stood firm in the middle, blood-stained and weak but proud. "I survived," she said loudly. "I made it back." Commander Vorlak stepped forward, tall and covered in traditional war paint. He looked her up and down like she was a broken weapon. "You survived, thanks to a human." The word human dripped from his mouth like poison. Sorexa narrowed her eyes. "No one else helped me, not even you." Vorlak took a long breath. You brought enemy tech into this camp. You were touched by human hands. That makes you unclean. Unclean, she spat. You left me to die. You were in a kill zone. Protocol said eat. I screamed for help. Her voice cracked. I bled in the dirt while you cowards watched. A younger soldier behind the commander whispered, She's brave. But Vorlak turned with fury. Silence. This is not bravery. It's betrayal. He turned back to Sorexa and pulled a small silver badge from his belt. It bore the mark of her unit. Slowly, in front of everyone, he dropped it to the ground. You are no longer part of this squad. You are stripped of rank. You are dishonored. Sorexa felt something twist inside her chest. Not pain from the leg, but deeper. Shame. Rage. Loss. I didn't ask the human to help me, she growled. He did it because he still had something you all lost, compassion. Gasps echoed through the camp. Vorlak's eyes flared. Take her to the edge of the ridge. She's exiled. No, she said. I wasn't asking. 2 guards stepped forward. One grabbed her arm. Sorexa didn't resist, but she did look. Every single soldier in the eye as they dragged her away. You all say humans are heartless monsters, she said, voice steady. But the only one who showed me kindness was a monster, by your standards. That night, in the cold wind at the edge of the canyon, Sorexa sat alone. She stared at the stars. Her leg pulsed slightly, adapting to her body. She tapped the side panel. A tiny hologram appeared. A message from Jackson. You can come back if you want. No sides, just healing. She closed the message, but she didn't delete it. She wasn't ready to go back. Not yet. She had something else to do first. She would prove to her people that compassion wasn't weakness. It was the strongest weapon she had. The reunion, but under fire, the desert wind howled through the canyon as night fell. Sorexa crouched under a ledge, her back against cold stone. Her breaths came in short bursts. Behind her, heavy boots thudded on rock, getting closer. They had sent a kill squad, not enemies. Her own people. Hours after her exile, she'd heard rumors. The footage of her being helped by a human had spread too far, too fast. High Command was angry. They didn't want her story to reach the civilians. A wounded alien girl helped by a human medic? It was poison to the war machine. So they issued a quiet order. Eliminate her before she speaks again. Sorexa had escaped into the lower canyons. She was fast even with the new leg, but the hunters were faster. Trained assassins loyal to command, and they were closing in. She tapped the side of her synthetic leg. The emergency beacon blinked red. Low power. She'd pushed it too hard. Now even her own body betrayed her. She looked around. No shelter. No escape. Then she saw the ridge. A flicker of orange light. A signal fire. She limped toward it. Miles away, at a small forward human outpost, Corporal Jackson sat by the comms tent. His shift had just ended. He sipped weak coffee and looked out at the dark horizon. Then the sensor beeped. Unknown signal, Zillary frequency. He dropped the cup and sprinted to the console. A familiar signature was pulsing. Weak, almost gone. Sorexa, he whispered. He didn't wait. Grabbing his medkit and a rifle, he jumped into a sand sled and hit the accelerator. The engine roared. Dust flew. Back in the canyon, Sorexa was out of breath. Her leg buzzed, systems overheating. She stumbled behind a boulder and collapsed. Footsteps approached. 3 shadowy figures emerged. Target in sight, one said into a comm. Alive. For now. Sorexa tried to lift a rock. Useless. Her fingers were trembling. The lead assassin raised his blaster, but before he could fire, a shot cracked through the night. One of the hunters fell. The others ducked. Another shot. Sparks flew from the rock. Third. Straight through a gas canister. Boom! The canyon lit up in orange fire. Out of the smoke came Jackson, riding hard, rifle blazing. Get behind me, he shouted. Sorexa didn't move, so Jackson slid off the sled and ran to her. His shoulder caught a grazing bolt, but he didn't stop. He grabbed her, dragged her behind the wrecked sled, and returned fire. Why are they shooting at you? He shouted. My people want me gone. Jackson frowned. Figures. He peeked out and fired a burst. One assassin fell, but the third vanished into the shadows. "You're bleeding," she said, seeing his shoulder. "Not as bad as you," he replied with a grin. "Why did you come?" He looked at her. Serious this time. "You mattered." That was enough. A moment passed. The air grew quiet again. No more shots. Then Sorexa asked, "Can we go somewhere? Far from all of this?" Jackson nodded. "Hop in." She hesitated. Then slowly, painfully, she climbed onto the sled behind him. Her hand rested lightly on his back. "You didn't have to save me," she said quietly. He smiled. "But I wanted to." As they sped away into the night, the last remaining assassin watched from the shadows. He didn't fire. He turned and walked away. Maybe, just maybe, the war was starting to change. Synthetic soul. The safe house was buried deep inside an old mining tunnel, forgotten by war, untouched by scanners. Cold air filled the narrow space, and dust floated in the single beam of light coming through a broken roof. Inside, Sorexa sat, cross-legged, staring at her synthetic leg. It moved when she thought. It responded faster than her real one ever did. She could run, jump, balance perfectly, but something about it still felt hollow. "Do you hate it?" Jackson asked from across the fire. She didn't answer. He tossed a ration bar her way. "You'll need energy. That leg burns through calories like a jet engine." She caught it easily, thanks to the balance the limb gave her. She took a bite, chewing slowly. Then she said, "It works better than my old leg." Jackson raised an eyebrow. "But it doesn't feel mine." He nodded. "Synthetic limbs rarely do. Not at first." She looked at him. "What about yours?" Jackson pulled back his sleeve. His forearm was metal, sleek and old. Burn marks scarred its edge. "I lost it on Tarsus Prime." "Didn't cry then," he said with a dry chuckle. "But later, when I touched my mother's hand and she flinched, I did." Sorexa's eyes softened. "She feared your machine part?" "She feared I wasn't her son anymore," Jackson said. "Just a replacement." A silence grew between them, heavy but not uncomfortable. Sorexa reached toward her leg and tapped open the maintenance panel. Wires, nodes, and memory chips blinked in patterns. "I've been studying the system," she said, "trying to understand how it talks to my brain." "You'll be better at it than me soon." Jackson smiled. "I want to make it my own," she said, her voice quieter. "Not just wear it, live in it, then start here." He tossed her a small data stick. "Human designs, but adaptable." Sorexa caught it mid-air. "You trust me with your technology. You trusted me with your life." She blinked. No one had said it like that before. Not even her commanders. Not even her family. She looked around the tunnel. "This place feels outside the war," she said. "That's because it is," Jackson replied. "Here, no one's a soldier. Just two people figuring out how to keep walking." Sorexa smiled faintly. "I never thought I'd learn how to walk from a human." "Technically," he said, leaning back, "you're doing better than most." Hours passed. Jackson slept lightly on one side of the tunnel. Sorexa stayed up. She connected the data stick to her leg and began scanning. She paused on one file. Emotional feedback dampener. Off. She frowned. Her leg was built to mimic sensation, but also emotion. Movement was tied to memory. Human design wasn't just about function. It was about feeling. She hesitated, then activated it. Suddenly, heat rose in her chest. Her leg tingled, not painfully, but almost like it remembered something. A memory not hers. She stood up, balanced herself, and walked across the tunnel. Her steps felt different now. Lighter. Like each one carried a piece of a story she was still writing. She looked down at the human-made limb. It had been metal before, but now it felt alive. Maybe that was what made humans special, not just what they built, but what they put into what they built. She walked back, quietly laid down near the fire and stared at Jackson's sleeping form. Not enemy, not savior. Just human, the metal. She never wore. The war ended not with a bang, but with silence, a sudden ceasefire. A treaty signed in secret. Soldiers were called back, ships returned to hangars, guns were holstered, uncertain if they would be needed again. But no, one forgot Sector 9, and no one forgot the image that had shaken both armies. An alien girl, rebuilt with a human limb, standing beside the very enemy who saved her life. That image didn't win the war, but it broke the rhythm of hate, just long enough for peace to slip through. Weeks later, in a massive hall under a silver dome, Earth's Allied Command held a quiet ceremony. No cameras, no press, just soldiers, medals, and unspoken stories. Corporal Jackson stood in a stiff uniform, cleaned up, shoulder healed. The metal on his chest sparkled under the soft lights. A general stepped forward. For bravery beyond protocol, for risking your life to save not an ally but a wounded soul. We thank you. Applause followed, but Jackson didn't smile. He scanned the crowd, searching for a tall figure with silver eyes and a blue glow. She wasn't there because she hadn't been invited. Across the stars, in a Zalari refugee camp built near a cratered moon, Sirexa sat on a broken bench, tuning her synthetic leg with a wrench. She'd made upgrades, painted it in Zalari colors, etched her family crest on the knee. It still clicked slightly, but it was hers now. A child nearby asked, "Is it true you were saved by a human?" She looked down and nodded. "Yes." "Weren't you scared?" "I was terrified," she said honestly. But he wasn't. The child tilted her head. "Do you miss him?" Sirexa paused. Then she answered, "Every time I take a step." One day a strange package arrived at her shelter. It was small, old and unmarked except for a human military seal. Inside was a medal, Jackson's medal, along with a note handwritten, "This doesn't belong to me. You're the one who had to walk again in a world that didn't want you to. You're the one who kept going. That's real courage." J. Sirexa held the medal in her palm for a long time. Then quietly, she stood, walked out into the dusty courtyard and climbed to the edge of the hill. There, under twin suns, she lifted the medal to the sky. Behind her, one by one, others began to gather. Alien veterans, wounded, forgotten, discarded. She didn't give a speech. She didn't need to, because now, every step she took was a speech. Every moment she walked was a message. That mercy wasn't weakness, that machines could carry memories, that humanity could be learned, even by those not born human. Months later, at a joint peace summit, a tall, alien diplomat entered the room on a smooth silver leg. She wore no medal, no rank, just a simple symbol on her shoulder, a flame wrapped in a hand. She didn't speak during the introductions. She didn't argue policy. But when she passed by Jackson in the hallway, she reached out, ever so gently, and touched his arm. He looked. She nodded once. No words. Because some things don't need to be said, not when one soul saved another.